the Texas rig. So let me walk you through how to set it up, the right rod, the reel, the line combo to fish it on, and how to fish it. First up, you're gonna need one of these. This is a bullet weight, right? This is the heart of the rig. This is what makes a Texas rig a Texas rig. So the bullet shape is designed to slide through the grass, wood, brush, and rocks instead of hanging up. That's why this rig became the gold standard for fishing heavy cover. So most anglers upgrade from lead to tungsten, and here's why. Tungsten is denser than lead, so the weight is smaller at the same size. So that smaller profile slips through cover easier, and tungsten transmit bottom contact way better. So you can feel rock and wood and grass or a bite much faster. That better sensitivity equals faster hook sets, which equals more fish landed. So this is why serious bass anglers almost always run tungsten. But I have lead today. I actually got tungsten down here too. Let me see. They're pretty tiny. Look how tiny those things are. So next up, you can use a couple different worms here. You can use offset worm hook. This is best for like slimmer plastics, like straight worms and finesse worms. It's a better penetration on thinner baits. And then you have the EWG hook right there, extra wide gap. And this is built for thick plastics and bulky baits, more bite gap for creature baits and big worms. And it really has a really good hookup ratio on those chunky plastics. So hook sizing is pretty simple, right? You got your 3/0. This is gonna be for smaller worms and finesse plastics. Then you got your 4/0. This is kind of the do everything size. Then you have your 5/0. These are for your big worms and your bulky creature baits. And if you own nothing but 3/0 to 5/0 hooks, you can Texas rig almost anything. So soft plastics, this is the playground, right? And honestly, why this rig has caught bass for decades. Perfect for worms and ribbon tails and straight tails and stick worms. Crawls are amazing around rocks and wood. Creature baits are awesome for flipping into cover. Lizards, absolute springtime bed fishing villains. Let me show you how to rig it. First thing you want to do is slide your bullet weight on, because you're gonna be pulling it through the grass. Put the pointed side on the line first. There you go. Next up, you want to tie on your hook. So I'm going to use a Palomar knot, which essentially tie through one side, tie through the other, just like that. Then what you're going to do is just make an overhand knot with that braid. I'm using braid right now, like so. And then with the loop of that knot, you're going to run your hook through it. And then I'll weten it up, tighten it up, and there you go. That is the Palomar. So snip off that tag end, which I'll do right now. Boom. That's what you got so far. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hook a ribbon tail worm. This is a culprit. You wanna insert the hook into the nose of the bait, right? Kind of like a 1/4 inch down. So down and out, just like that. Now you're gonna slide the bait up to the eye and rotate the hook 180 degrees. So we're gonna move that all the way down, 180 degrees, just like that. Now you want to line it up and put the hook through the bottom of that bait, just like that. And then you want to skin hook it so you don't get that caught up. That's also called being texposed, right? So now what you have, weedless, clean, ready to hunt. So now let me share with you how to fish this mother, right? Number one, dragging. You can cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and slow drag it through the weeds, through whatever it is. Keep bottom contact the entire time. That weight is your feel sensor. You're feeling wood and rock and grass and that subtle tick of any bite that is going to come. Think of it as like a crawfish crawling along the floor. Next, you can hop it, right? Short rod lifts to make the bait jump and fall. So let it fall on semi-slacker line and watch your line closely. A lot of times they'll nail it right there. Most Texas rig bites happen as that bait drops back down. So start slow, let the fish tell you what they want. Cold water, it's gonna be more slower drags and long pauses. Warmer water, you can speed it up and cover more water. But when in doubt, slow it down. So if you're ever asking yourself, what's the best time to fish this bait or the best plastic to even throw? Well, you're not alone. That's exactly why I started using the Deep Dive app a long time ago, because they have something called the lure selector. If you plug in your water temp, your season, your depth, your water clarity, it recommends the baits that match your conditions you're actually fishing. It's honestly like having a tournament angler in your pocket helping you eliminate bad lure choices before your first cast. So check it out. I'm gonna throw the link in the description as well as link it up in the first comment. There's a lot of other things in there as well, from water clarity maps to water inflows, and even things like feeding windows, which I love. So I'm constantly looking at those feeding windows and weather all the time to make sure that I am fishing during those times. Back to this rig. So let's talk a little bit about the best rod and reel setup. So you want to use a bait caster unless you're throwing a very light finesse Texas rig. So the ideal setup is a 7 to 7/4 foot medium heavy power fast action rod. And for the bait caster, you're going to want a 7 1-to-1 or faster. And this is why. So that longer rod gives you a leverage for those stronger hook sets and helps pick up slack fast, which matters because most Texas rig bites happen on that slack line, right? And now when it comes to line, it really depends on what you're fishing it in. Heavy cover, you want to use braid. You can use 30 to 65 pound braid. But general fishing, usually 15 to 20 pound fluoro is going to knock it out of the park, right? I use around 17 pound fluoro. I think that's the sweet spot. If you wanted to, you could also use monofilament. It just has a lot more stretch to it, and I personally don't like that. But at the end of the day, guys, these Texas rigs, they're built for nasty places, right? You're gonna need power to pull bass out of that jungle. Now let's talk about weight selection. Like, how big are these? They come in a variety of different sizes. Look, there's a ton of different sizes in there. So for light cover or shallow water, you're going to use 1/8 to 1/4 ounce for like that slower natural fall. For heavy vegetation, you're going to want 1 to 2 ounce, right, to punch through those mats. You can also peg the weight so the bait and the weight fall together. And so I know a lot of guys do that. We'll just stick a toothpick up in here and jam it up there, and so it doesn't move. And so that's called pegging the weight. There's a variety of other ways you can do that. For deep water, you can use like a 1/2 ounce or heavier to get down fast and maintain that bottom contact. I don't love pegging line, especially on fluorocarbon or mono. Just undue pressure on the line. I don't braid, it doesn't matter that much, but you can use a bobber stop as well. So optional tweaks, you can add beads or rattles in dirty water to help bass find that bait by sound. And another tip you can do is you can use a double bobber stop for skipping docks so the weight stays locked in place so this doesn't separate. So a lot of different small tweaks that you can do with the Texas rig. At the end of the day, the Texas rig isn't flashy, but it flat out catches bass everywhere. So if you like this breakdown and you like catching bass, right, check out the wacky worm video I have right here. And this thing's stupid. The Yamatanuki breakdown right here. That thing's a bass slayer. Let's get after it, guys. See you guys out in the water.